It's being recorded.
Okay, then let me get started. Dear professors, Asia TEFL friends and colleagues, and ladies and gentlemen, we are here together to remember and honor our dearest Professor Bernard Spolsky, who passed away on the August 20th this year. And I've never imagined that I would start my Asia TEFL presidency with hosting this morning ceremony for Professor Spolsky, whom I was going to ask for his advice and wisdom about how to better serve Asia TEFL. We all here are still in great shock and deep sadness, but I think it's time for us to remember the legacy he had left us and be ready to pass it on. Now, this is how we are going to proceed today's ceremony. After my opening speech, we'll have President Suarsi Madia to give her a welcoming speech. And then we'll have sharing memories. And with the lead of our founding president, Hyung Lee, former presidents and former journal managing editors and book editors, along with other advisory board and executive committee members, will share your memories. And then I'll make some announcements and closing. Now, let me briefly introduce the biography of Professor Bernard Spolsky. He was born in 1932 in New Zealand. And he's the same age of the Professor Koike, Iko Koike, and Mr. Sungkeun Park, who is my father. And maybe that's why I felt so close to him. And he was educated at Victoria University and the University of Montreal. He taught at McGill University, Indiana University. Let me share this. The University of New Mexico and Barilan University. And then he retired in 2000. And since then, he'd been Professor Emeritus in the Department of English Literature and Linguistics at Barilan University. He had written and edited 24 books and about 250 articles and chapters as a renowned social linguist with expertise in language policy, educational linguistics, language assessment, Jewish languages, and linguistic landscapes. And he was a founding editor of 3 journals, Applied Linguistics, Language Policy, and of course, the Journal of Asia TEFL. And he passed away on August 20th this year in Israel. And now let me talk about his major contributions to Asia TEFL. He was the Asia TEFL founding committee member. And from 2004 until 2012, he was the publications executive director and the journal editor-in-chief with Professor Kim Jin-wan, Chun Ji-hyun, and Kim Hae-young. And from 2006 to until recently, right before he passed away, he was the Asia TEFL book series editor-in-chief with Hee-kyung Lee, Soo-ok Kwon, Eun-sung Park, Ki-wan Sung, Young-in Moon, and Yeon-hee Choi. And from 2014 to this year, he was a lifetime honorary advisory board member. These are the 2 major contributions to Asia TEFL he has made, the Journal of Asia TEFL and Asia TEFL book series. Now, if you remember, this is the very last message we all received from him. Can you see this? Congratulations and best wishes to all past and incoming officers, Bernard. And this message was sent to us just 1 minute after Professor Gargesh and Lee sent their thanking and a farewell message. So he was always the first person to respond all the email messages sent out to advisory board and executive council members. We are not going to see him smiling like this in these photos again, but he will remain in our thoughts and memories for long. And we were so fortunate to have known and worked with him for so many years. And we love him, and he will be greatly missed. Rest in peace, Bernard. Now, Professor Suarsimadia, over to you. Your mic is off now.
Professor Park and the immediate past presidents, Professor Rafinger Gagas, hopefully he's here, and Professor Kyung Yong Lee, senior co-presidents, Professor Fuad Abdul Hamid and Professor Jie Jion Yan, the most senior president, Professor Hugh Wong Lee, and all vice presidents, executive directors, executive board and advisory board members, and all regional representatives, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. Let me take this opportunity to convey our sincere thank you for attending this virtual mourning ceremony, to express our grief for the passing away of dearest Professor Bernard Spolsky. His passing away has indeed been a big loss to Asia TEFL and a heavy blow to all of us, Asia TEFL officers. Asia TEFL has been lucky to have received great support from Professor Spolsky, an internationally renowned figure with various works on a wide range of areas: TESOL, language testing, language planning, computer-assisted learning, to mention some. Upon reflection, he lent his full support when Asia TEFL was founded 20 years ago, and since then helped us improve substantially our annual conferences, and more remarkably, helped establish Asia TEFL's strong existence by providing his support for the publication of Asia TEFL book series and journal. His significant contribution to the development of our organization with its iconic activities, conferences, and publications deserves our highest appreciation and deepest gratitude. In my own experience, Professor Spolsky was fatherly, wise, and more importantly, always willing to share his knowledge, thoughts, and expertise. I have personally learned a great deal from him. To Asia TEFL members, his passing away, I'm sure, is also a huge loss, since they have so far enjoyed and benefited from his great works. His contribution to the development of professional field is invaluable. Next year, Asia TEFL will commemorate its 21st anniversary, and by then we will reflect on the whole journey of our professional organization, a golden journey to which Professor Spolsky has contributed significantly. It is indeed unfortunate that we will not be with us anymore in the special moment of our annual program. However, we will still hold him in our memory, though he is physically non-existent. To say our prayer and best wishes for his soul, let us take this very opportunity to have a moment of silence, shall we? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure everyone present in this virtual mourning ceremony has personal memories of Professor Spolsky, which are worth sharing. In this case, our founding president, Hugh Wong Lee, will lead the sharing. Thank you very much for your attention and look forward to your personal memory sharing. Professor Lee, over to you.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. I think you feel in the same way as I do. about Professor Spolsky. First, I would like to say, may you rest in peace and in love in the heaven. Okay. I think all of you know about his contribution to Asia TEFL, especially his outstanding contribution in the journal and in the book series. But here, I would like to say my personal connection or relationship with him, not all, but in part. Okay. My connection with Professor Spolsky began in the early part of 1980. At that time, I was studied in the University of Texas at Austin. And for my master thesis, I conducted a survey about language learning motivation. And I used a survey developed by Professor Spolsky. That was my first connection with him. So using that survey, I completed my master thesis in the United States. Okay. But actually, the first time I met him was in the KATE, Korean Teacher Association, KATE International Conference in Busan. Maybe that is in 2002. At that time, I was a KATE president. And everyone knows Young-Shin Lee. Young-Shin Lee invited him as a plenary speaker to KATE International Conference, was held in Busan. So for 3 days, and we talked a lot about life and language teaching, and about the English language teaching and English education in Asia. That was my first time with him. And the second time I met him was in the Nanjing University, in the Chinese conference. At that time, you know the Professor Hua Yin. He was a vice president of Asia TEFL for a long time, okay? And the Ji Zhongyang. So Professor Hua was the president of that association, Chinese association. So he invited Professor Spolsky to his conference as a plenary speaker. And I was invited as a KATE president to that conference. So this story I already told the Korean directors, okay. And sometime during the conference at lunchtime, there were very big guys and girls around the table. So for example, from Japan, Professor Koike from Japan, and Amy Thu from Hong Kong, and the Professor Candlin, that means applied linguistics president at that time, Professor Candlin, and who else? Yeah, Ji Zhongyang and Yinhua, and many outstanding scholars at that time. So during the lunchtime, I announced to all of them, my presidency of KATE will finish the end of June 2002. Right after I finished my presidency, I start to work for founding Asia TEFL. Everyone's surprised. But Professor Spolsky said, okay, oh, you are very ambitious. I can still remember his voice and what he said very vividly. That was the second time. And the third time, in 2003, is March 15. Okay, I invited him as a founding committee, one of the committee members to Seoul. At that time, 12 founding committees from 12 different Asian countries. At that time, he represented Israel. So we had a meeting for Foundation of Asia Temple for 2 days. So for 2 days, okay, well, I first know about him, or he's a great scholar and a great man. His view is very wide and knowledge is very deep, and his personality is very lovable. And also, at first time we met many difficulties in Founding Asia Temple in that meeting, but whenever we met difficult challenges, he gave us a very good advice for the matters. So we successfully finished the founding committee meeting in Seoul, March 15, 2002. Okay, as you know well, since then, he had been an excellent advisor to Asia Temple and very kind, gentle, and wise, my big brother to me. Okay. So, well, as I said before, the contribution and his personality you can talk about. Anyhow, since then, we met at least once every week or twice every week. He sometimes came to Korean conference, not Asia Temple conference. So I met him once or twice every year. The more I know him, the more I love and I respect. He's a really great person. So I said, great star fell to the ground. So it's our responsibilities to make Asia Temple grow bigger and better. That means we go forward on the basis of his contribution to Asia Temple. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, President Lee. I'm sure you all have a lot to talk about him and your memory, but due to the time constraint, those of you who are going to talk about your memory, please try to make it short.
Okay. Yes.
Now,
I'm sorry.
I'd like to invite President Jian Chun. She was the president, but also she was the journal managing editor, right? For many years. So would you go next? Your mic is off now, Jian.
Sorry for my voice. My voice is a little down. Maybe I'm sad and also because of cold. Thank you, President, for allowing us to have this opportunity to remember him and think of him together. Professor Spolsky was very special to me. While I was a student, like President Lee, I admired his articles, appreciating his intuitions. He knew many, many things, but he got the point, so intuitively told us what's going on in some area. I got his intuition and really admired him. Later, I was so thrilled, not because I began to work as a managing editor, because I was beginning to be able to work with him closely. And my work with him was for about 6 years as a managing editor. So while I was working as a managing editor for the Journal of Asia TEFL, we worked together to manage it to publish about 24 journal issues together. So we had many, many emails back and forth. But I fondly remember my time with him, not because of the work. Actually, he was the one so responsive. I always get needed responses and advice in a short time within the day. And so my task with him is always done very quickly. But additionally, he always enchanted me by giving me some new ideas. Instead of like dry work talk only, he's the kind of person like talking about flowers, about people we love, and sharing some life intuitions. That part, I loved him so much. So our like walk talk was getting shorter and faster, but our life talk was getting longer and fuller. He's probably the one who showed me how to keep the balance between work and happy personal life. He showed me how we can enjoy the work while actually making real relationship with people. And he was always willing to share his garden, the sky that he's looking at while I was talking with him, or his affection towards his family members or people. And he told me honestly that he felt like we were his side of family in Asia. So when his son, a big guy in the computer area, was planning to come to Korea, he contacted me. Oh, could you do me a favor? I thought I would do something, but actually he was simply caring about his son. And he told me that I'm his Korean side of family. So he just thought he's so happy his son is traveling to Korea, knowing someone there. So I was very happy that he truly felt like we are one of his family. When we had a chance to see each other in Korea face to face, I was inviting him for the dinner, and it was like with the Professor Young Min Moon too. And at that time, we were asking him, what would you like? And we were kind of expecting that he would choose something classic. And he said, why not sashimi or sushi? He was trying to explore things. He never just set back with what he already know. He is the one who is always exploring. And that is probably the one that we are so attracted by him. He's having an open heart for new things. So that's why we always have something to learn. I wish his soul now rest in peace. We'll remember his wisdom and heart fondly forever. We love you, Professor Spolsky. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chan. Now, I'd like to have President Gargesh and then Professor Kilyong Lee. Professor Gargesh.
Thank you very much, Professor Park. Yes, it is a very sad moment to hear about the loss of Professor Spolsky. It has been very painful, and of course his contribution to Asia TEFL should be written in golden letters. He will always have an honored place in the history of Asia TEFL. I learned about Professor Spolsky for the first time in 1977, when, like Professor Hugh Wong Lee, I was doing my master's thesis on language modernization and language standardization of Hindi in the Indian context. It was then that I read Professor Bernard Spolsky, and then I read more about him, and I used his work a lot. It was just wonderful. Later, when I met him in the Asia TEFL conferences, that was something I did not even think of. And I gelled with him in Seoul, the second conference. That is, I think, Park Hotel. I used to go out every morning for a walk with him. It is then that we developed mutual liking and exchanging notes about the family and personal interests and academic interests. That was the real beginning, personal beginning. So the person whom I had admired as a great scholar was right in front of me, the giant. I was so happy, so happy. I mean, I thanked Asia TEFL with all my heart for giving me this opportunity to meet such a great, grand person in person. So I talked with him academics about my family, about his family, and walking up that small hill around that hotel, it was a pleasure. He would talk about the sunshine, about the trees, about the vegetation, birds. It was wonderful. He would mix academics with the world, just wonderful. Very smiling, very confident, always full of advice. He wanted to visit India with his son or with some relative. And twice we planned in Delhi. On both occasions, something happened and it could not materialize at the last minute. Then when he landed in Delhi, then I could not come. It was the annual conference of the Linguistic Society of India. He was the chief guest, honored guest, and the keynote speaker. So Professor Mohanty received him, and it was well taken care of. So I missed being there at that moment. Otherwise, I would have been there. I had been planning his visit before that for the last 5 years before that, that he would visit Delhi. But it didn't happen. That was my misfortune. So I really miss him, really. Then I remember him when we were writing articles for Asia TEFL book series. And my greatest moment of pleasure was when we were writing on his conditions. So to look at the conditions, or to look at the theory of Bernard Spolsky, before Spolsky himself, and applied to some Indian situation. Wow, what more pleasure? What a matter of great pleasure it was for me. Great pleasure, great pleasure. A wonderful man, a great, I will call him friend, although he was much elderly in age, he never showed his age. He was like me, like equal, wonderful man, very soft-hearted, very kind-hearted, very humble, and of course, a great scholar. I will never forget him. A wonderful man, and I think we should start something we should have in Asia TEFL in his memory. Maybe a lecture, maybe some honor, or some maybe book series, some book, maybe edit some book on in his honor. We should do something so that we can also make a permanent contribution to his memory. Wonderful, just cannot forget him. He's etched in my heart. Thank you, Asia TEFL. Thank you, Professor Spolsky. Please rest in peace. I love you.
Thank you, Professor Gargesh. Now we'll have Professor Lee, and after Professor Lee, I'd like to invite Young-in Moon and Yeon-hee Choi. So please be ready. Okay, so Professor Lee.
Okay, the first memory that I have about Professor Spolsky was, I think it was when we had a conference in Mexico, Busan Convention Center in 2002, I think. Maybe it was a CATE conference.
Yeah, CATE conference.
Yes. We had a dinner together in Busan Convention Center at that time. It was about 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. And then the sun already set. Now it's time for us to go to the hotel. But Professor Spolsky refused to use any vehicle at that time. So he decided to walk all the way to the hotel. It took about 2 hours on foot.
Oh my God.
So the second son of Professor Hyung Lee escorted him all the way up to the hotel. So when I saw him doing it, I thought, he was very strict. in practicing his belief, religion. And actually, he was the first Jew that I had ever seen in Korea at that time. But as a matter of fact, he was very open-minded and soft-minded, I would say. And also, he tried to, live young. As Professor Chu-Kyung Park has mentioned, that he is the first person to respond to the president's message in our home. And also, he always posted or sent a message to all EC and AB members regarding the Islamic religion holidays or Hindu religious holidays, even though he's a Jew. So he's trying to share his understanding of other cultures. And as you may know, that the final goal of Asia TEFL is sharing our peaceful understanding of cultures. So I think that he's the person who has been practicing the goal.
Absolutely.
And yes, everybody has mentioned that he's a great scholar, and he will be remembered in our hearts for long in Asia TEFL. And also, I wish that I could share my understanding with other members in Asia TEFL. And also, we lost Professor Gagish, the Ghana, 2 years ago. And then now we lost the Professor Spolsky. I wish everybody be healthy and safe always, right? Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Professor Lee. Now, who would you like to go first? Young-in Moon or Yeon-hee Che? Professor Che, would you like to go now? Yeon-hee Che? Your mic?
Oh, yes, sorry about that. Well, when I was hearing President's memory with Dr. Spolsky, I realized I don't have a really personal kind of meeting with him, but I was a first book editor, so I worked with him to publish 3 books. The main thing I remember when I worked with him, he was always helpful and tried to help me. And then as Dr. John talked about it, and he was really punctual. I was really surprised when I sent him all copies of all the chapters. He wrote a preface within 1 or 2 days. I was really appreciated because it was not that easy job to review all the chapters and write a preface of book series. So I really appreciate his professional help. And secondly, what I remember about him, I'm gonna share some photos of him I have. Just a second. Do you see a photo now?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes. And can you recognize him?
Yes.
Yes.
From the back.
Okay. And this is Dr. Moon. She was giving a featured speech in Manila in 2013. He always had paper on his hat, but he was listening, and then he always gave some comment, actively participated each speaker's speech. That's what I remember. Probably you remember about his work. I like participating, how seriously he was listening to each speaker's presentation, including plenary, future speech, or even individual presentation, or including student presentation. And then I'm going to share another, just a second. I was going to share some, I opened a lot of photos. Okay. Just a second. Sorry about this. Oh, I'm going to show you. Do you see this photo? No. Okay, sorry about that. Then I will close it. Okay. So I had a photo of him 2003 conference in Busan. And then as the professor, President Gillian Lee talked about it. And then he couldn't talk on Sunday. So he was on the stage for the panel discussion, but he couldn't have a microphone either. He was just sitting on the table for the panel discussion, but because of his religious reason, he didn't talk. And as President Lee talked about, he walked back to the hotel. We all remember about how long it took for him to go back to walk back to the hotel.
Saturday, not Sunday.
Yeah.
Thursday, that's Thursday.
It was a Saturday, yes. Panel
Yes.
final, the panel discussion was on Saturday. That's why he couldn't talk, and then he couldn't use any public transportation. So I really, from my work, I really appreciate his help. And then, as I talked before, he was a really professional scholar. That's what I remember. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you, Professor Chen. Now, Professor Moon. And after Professor Moon, Judy In, Professor In, please prepare the video from Professor Hae-young Kim. You know what I'm talking about, right? The video from Professor Hae-young Kim.
Okay.
Okay, now, Professor Moon. go
Okay,
ahead.
I didn't prepare any speech or photos, but if I could share some of my stories, some of my memories with him, with you. I had this great opportunity to work with him when I was working on one of the Asia TEFL book series. And as everybody said, he was like a mentor to me, and he taught me how to write a proposal to international publisher. And he showed me how to solve all the editing related problems. And most of all, he made me feel like I was his family. And I thought I was the only one who is loved by him, like dearly. And I'm realizing, I realize
You're
now
not.
that everyone was is feeling like his family. One of the reasons I I felt that way is that I used to call him grandpa. Actually, I'm not that young, but the reason is that he was my father's professor at Indiana University. So yeah, in short, he taught my father when my father was working on master's thesis. And so their age is about the same, but because Professor Spolsky was the teacher of my father, I feel like he's kind of older than my father. And with that, for that reason, I feel like he's like a grandfather to me. So I used to call him grandfather, and he was very pleased. So so anyway, well, it's sad, but I know that he had a full life. Yeah. So in a way, I'm happy for him. So rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we have another former editor of a book series, and she couldn't make it tonight. So she sent me the video that she made. So we are going to watch that now.
Can you guys hear the audio?
No. Why is that?
When you share the screen, you have to choose audio share too. There's option.
I'm sorry, I think it's because I'm using my headset. Could I work this through? Can I go in the next
Okay.
yeah, let me
Okay.
work this through. Thank you.
Sure. Then now I think it's time, those of you, advisory board and executive council. So who would like to go next?
I would like to read Phyllis's,
Susan?
please. Yeah.
Okay,
First of all,
please go ahead.
Phyllis cannot attend because she's giving a talk. I don't know whether to say this morning, this afternoon, or this evening. And so she sent me what she'd like to say, and I'm reading this for Phyllis too.
Okay.
My contribution to the memorial. Kindness is the lodestone of the heart. Professor Bernard Spolsky was not just a giant in academia, ESL, language testing, sociolinguistics, language planning, language and religion, computer-assisted learning, and so on. He was a giant in compassion, giving his time to our minority Asian space, even when Asia TEFL was still a toddler. As a nurturing parent, he understood the tireless process of building a strong foundation. In everything he did, from helping Asia TEFL with the publications and the journal, lending his name and prestige to our events, and as a mentoring parent, he showed an endearing, rare, and selfless commitment. It will be difficult for me to forget someone who gave me so much to remember, Dr. Phyllis Chu from Singapore. Okay, and it's interesting how many people have used it from Professor Madhya, and many, many others are talking about family terms, which I find is a very, very interesting, anyway, and also Phyllis. I also would like to say something, but maybe you want to give someone else a turn first.
Okay, Arifa, would you like to go now?
Should I continue for a minute or someone else?
Maybe after Arifa, because Arifa wanted to say something.
Arifa, yes, Arifa.
That's okay. Why doesn't Susan say what she wants to say?
No, Arifa, go on. It's your turn.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm going to say is almost, kind of echoing a whole lot of things that others have said. And I actually, what I did, I went back, I scrolled through all the emails that he's been sending over the years. And I picked up so much stuff which brought tears to my eyes. And the thing that I don't want to talk about what a great scholar he was, and he was a great guru and our mentor, but I'd like to talk about the personality, which a lot of people have said. And I found 3 aspects of his personality through all the mails that have come through and on the occasions we've met. And first one was he's always appreciative. He always appreciated and importantly, and this has been said before, he was always the first to appreciate. He always responded immediately and said, wonderful, and heartiest congratulations. And indeed, this is good news. And just before the 2 new presidents were nominated, just after, he said, so beautifully, he said, this is indeed good news. For president's nominations, we've got 2 excellent candidates who will keep up the high standards of their predecessors. So it sounds a wise way to proceed. So always for anything. He appreciated. The second aspect, I sort of, and I think everyone has noticed that he was so culturally sensitive. He was such a global citizen in this respect. And I think Professor Lee has already said how he used to send out greetings to all the different religions. And I know I got my greetings for Eid Mubarak and Ramadan Mubarak, and there would be Happy Diwali for the Indian, the Hindus. And only recently, we had one where he sent best wishes for the Year of the Tiger. And this was Professor Pragasi. So he was always there. And for me, during COVID, he said, Eid Mubarak to our Muslim friends and families in these difficult times. So even he brought in the COVID there. So, and the third thing that we've always noticed, and that was his generosity, his kindness. Throughout all the natural disasters, the typhoons, and the COVID, of course, has always been there. He wrote beautifully in the COVID times that be safely vaccinated, but we are safely vaccinated, but still cautiously masked. We have been upset and concerned by today's news about the rapid spread of the pandemic in Asian countries. Our thoughts and prayers are with you and your families and colleagues and compatriots. If only we could send you vaccines or oxygen or health workers. So these are the thoughts. Then the Philippines and Indonesia, whenever something happened, he was the first one to give commiserations. I remember in Bangladesh about 10 years ago, we had a huge disaster with we have a huge garments factory industry in Bangladesh. We export garments to all over the world. And there was a huge disaster in a multi-storied building which collapsed and hundreds of garments workers were killed. He came in, he was so wonderful with his kindness. And he also sent me a press cutting of something similar that had happened in the 1920s in somewhere in New York or in the USA. How these things were there. I said to have a look and see what are the things that can be done. So here's this great man sitting halfway across the world and thinking of people like us. And we also have noticed that he has this very subtle sense of humor, if you know. So I've read a lot of little things. He said something about I'll slow down my treadmill so I can keep sync with the Korean singers, something like that. I remember. Okay, and he said this, like our thoughts on our, what did he say? He said, our thoughts are with those in the Philippines and Indonesia, and now we watch for typhoons and other natural disasters hastened by man-made global warming. So, and here we talk about, we have only rockets and riots and political chaos to deal with. So there he was with his irony. Once only, I noticed he was a bit out of sorts, which he never has done. He kind of lost a bit of his temper when he was having difficulty. Remember last year, we were all having difficulty with registering for the 2021 conference. And something was, I think, said about technology and old age. He sent a beautiful little thing, which he said, he was actually talking about user-friendliness and how his son, who's such a big shot in computers, he says, if there's any problem, it's always a problem with the makers, not the users. So he was talking about that. And then he said, he wrote, and he used this, I will tackle the form filling when I have time off from productive research and writing curmudgeonly letters like this. Curmudgeonly is a word I had never heard before. So I looked up Google and it said something like, bad-tempered old man, that sort of tone. And I actually wrote to him, I said, love the tone of your letter, which is very curmudgeon. And he said, and I said, I thanked him for giving this opportunity to learn this new word. And he wrote back and said, I like Curmudgeon and I keep learning work sounds, as I think they used to call dealing with inadequate computer programs and lazy, unfriendly programmers. So, these are the kinds of beautiful, that human part of Bernard Spolsky that we have also touched and felt. And therefore, my, of course, my tribute, everything is with him. So we love you, Professor Spolsky, and we will sorely miss you. And he's left a legacy for us. We have to honor that legacy and do something more and keep up to it. And this is the spirit of Asia TEFL. And we are so blessed. Asia TEFL has given me this opportunity to come close to this great person. Thank you.
Thank you, Arifa. Well, now the video is ready. So after the video, I'd like to have Susan. Is that okay, Susan? Okay.
Perfect.
In memoriam, Professor Bernard Spolsky. Hello, I'm Hyun Kim, a member of Asia TEFL. I had worked as a managing editor from 2012 to 2015 with Professor Spolsky. I extend my sincere condolences to his family and friends. I had not much opportunity to build personal relationship with him, but as an editor and as a co-worker, I remember that his email response was very prompt in no longer than 24 hours. I have also witnessed that he was very responsible and sincere editor of Asia TEFL. Actually, I have one memorable story I would like to share with you. Back in 2012, 10 years ago, while working on my second issue, he rejected one manuscript in the very final stage, right before being published and sent for printing. I was frustrated and a bit upset because there was only a few articles left for publication of that issue. I had had a hard time finding reviewers and past articles, but more seriously, how can I tell the author that your paper is going to be published but canceled for publication at the last moment? After painfully tossed and turned night, I earnestly requested him with very lengthy email telling that I want to include the rejected one in that issue. But his answer was no. I felt bad about it. I felt ignored by him. 3 reviewers said publishable, and I thought the paper was technically no problem. Then why not? From the editor-in-chief sent by him later, I found his anguish, love of his academic field, and responsibility for his contribution to the Journal of Asia TEFL. It's unusually long, but very worthy to read, 4 pages long. I'll excerpt one paragraph. Okay, let me just read. I've been doing it for just 133 years. Surely time to be jaded. I wonder how much of real significance has been contributed to knowledge in the field. How many readers will rush to replicate these studies? Then I attempt to carry them to the next stage. How many will change their teaching or research practices? How many will rush to the staff room to tell their colleagues or pass on to their students what they have learned? How many will interrupt breakfast conversation to share what they have learned with their family? It struck me think over why I do this job. What is the ultimate goal to conduct the research? Is my research finding possibly someone's breakfast conversation? His skepticism and self-questioning gave me a good lesson about my scholarly mission and value of research and journal. His thought is well explained also in the editor-in-chief letter of the first journal issue, 2004. I also excerpt a little bit. When I agreed to share in editorial responsibility, I was not fully aware of what to expect. I was promised that all the hard organization work will be carried out by the editor. But what, I wondered, could be especially Asian about the journal? And how could it maintain claims to a high standard of international scholarship while dealing with the local issues? The answer shown in this paper is clear. Applied linguistics is a field that is concerned with language-related social problems. It takes problems that occur in the real world. Thus, while most of the papers deal with issues relevant to the current concerns in one or more Asian countries, all make a contribution to the advancement of our field of the study. I really appreciate his good teaching that I have kept in mind for years. Thank you, Professor Spolsky.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Kim. Now, Susan, would you like to share your memory?
Yes, I would. I knew Prof. Spolsky in a different way than most of you. I first met him in 1980 when I signed up to do my master's degree at Bar-Ilan University. And I was going to do it in literature because the truth is if you had said to me to do a master's in applied linguistics, I wouldn't have known what that meant or what the meaning of the thing was. And there was no department of applied linguistics at Bar-Ilan. So I took 2 courses in literature, actually with him. One was linguistics for students of literature. And he sort of stole all the students of the literature department, the master's literature department, and he established a department of linguistics at Bar-Ilan, applied linguistics at Bar-Ilan University. And I, together with quite a few friends of mine, we became the first students in the applied linguistics department at Bar-Ilan University. And I took a number of courses with him. So first of all, we all say he was our teacher. He was literally my teacher. And he, over the course of the years, the 6 years that I did my master's, I was working at the time, he really changed shaped who I was as an academic. After I finished my master's, I became to know him in as a leader in the idea of professional development. Establishing helping to found a new organization was something that he founded several new organizations for teacher and working in teacher development. This was an essential part of, it wasn't enough to be a scholar. He had to encourage teachers in the field, instructors in the field to increase their knowledge and to have opportunities to share. And working in Asia TEFL was exactly the kind of person. In Israel, he established a new organization for research and language testing. And I know there are several other organizations that he was the founder of. And the final thing I want to remember, and I know I have to be quick because other people want to speak, is in 2003, when I was chairperson of the local teachers association, he asked me to join to be Israel's representative for Asia TEFL. And that was certainly all of these stages, being my teacher, being my mentor in professional development, and asking me to join Asia TEFL has been an amazing journey for me. And I can't tell you how much he's been an influence in my life and made me, part of who I am and what I do today. And I'm saddened by his loss, and I'm grateful for his influence on my life. And I don't have words to express how much he'll be missed. Anyway, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Susan. Marina, would you like to say something?
Well, first of all, hello, everyone.
Oh, hello.
And thank you, presidents, for the opportunity to talk at this ceremony, this morning ceremony. I have a few stories to tell, but maybe just one, because it's time maybe it's midnight. I'm looking at the clock. It's midnight. For me, Asia TEFL, well, part of being with Asia TEFL is learning a lot about cultures. And it was one incident when I learned a lot from Bernard, from Professor Spolsky. I bought a book at one of the conferences back maybe 15 years ago. I bought a book by him, Social Linguistics, and I rushed to him asking to sign the book for me. And he looked at me and he said, no. And look at me, and how I shocked was, he explained, it's Saturday. I cannot do it for you. Maybe tomorrow, maybe on Monday. So, and I started to learn about how to deal with people from different cultures, representatives of different cultures. And so many things. And then I remember working with him at my chapter on conditions. And he was so supportive and so mild editor that I was wondering every time I got letters from him, messages from him. He was so tactful and so helpful, and he didn't do much editing to my text. He was so delicate and so kind. So I was wondering, such a great scholar, and so it was such an experience that I would remember forever. And many other stories to tell, but maybe these two to share. Thank you, Professor Spolsky, for being in my life.
Thank you, Marina.
Thank you.
Professor Oda, I'm sure you have a lot to say, right?
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. And yes, I'm still shocked. I was speechless. Now I can make a speech, but I stayed in my Facebook and I was speechless for a couple of days.
Right.
Not just losing this great scholar, great friend, but I have so let me share my memory, because many of you have talked about him, how wonderful he is. My first encounter with him was actually back in 1987 when I was a student and attended the conference in Friesland, and I mean in the Netherlands. I mean, it was a minority language conference. I don't know why I was there. Maybe I was traveling in Europe. I was a student at Georgetown at the time, but then there was a conference which I was interested in, and then I knew Bernard Spolsky by name, but I was there, and there was a kind of a tour bus tour over there. I was sitting next to him, and I was very shocked because I know this Bernard Spolsky and Bernard Spolsky there. And then like for this entire day, maybe 5 hours something, and I was talking. He was talking about flower. He was talking about like food, and he was talking about like skies, and as somebody said, and it was very kind of because I had a kind of stereotypical image of this big, sky is always very serious, but it's just a wonderful human. Then later, again, I don't know why that whenever I meet Bernard, and it's always Netherlands, and it's a conference in the Amsterdam, and actually I was a student. It was one of my first presentation in the international conference, and there were only like 5 audience over there, and Bernard Spolsky was there. I was talking about kind of native speakers, something which I'm still doing it. It was like Henry Whittleston and Baba Zayhofer and Bernard Spolsky. So it's just like a sister defense at the time. But then at the end of the presentation, and there's one thing, he just gave me a card and said, keep working. And I'm still working on that. And then 1989 is his condition book, something that was one of the my kind of big major book for my PhD comprehensive exam at Georgetown. So as somebody said, I was very glad that in Manila conference that Professor Gagesh said that I was invited to contribute a chapter of my favorite book. That book helped me a lot, and in front of him. And Bernard always have been very sensitive and a person to respond. And as you said, well, so many things. But just I'm sure that he is the one of the many. Well, I think he has influenced me a lot. And just one last thing that I'd like to tell was everybody believed that Professor Koike invited me to join Asia Tech4. No, it was Bernard who sent me email in relation to my this paper in Amsterdam, native speakers. Now Asian scholars are starting this great organization. Please write Professor Hyun-Woo. Bernard. Good luck. So that was my beginning, and he's still alive in my heart. Thank you very much, and rest in peace, Bernard.
Thank you. Now, David, would you like to say something? You've been waiting for long.
Yes. So many people have said so many things about him already. I really don't want to just repeat those. Times like this make me think of a CNN anchor, Wolf Blitzer. In times like these, on cable TV news, he will end saying, may he rest in peace, and may his memories be a blessing. I'm confident that Dr. Spolsky is resting in peace. He has contributed so much that he has to be satisfied with what he has accomplished, not just for himself, for all of us. He has, all of us, meaning all of us in Asia TEFL, he has contributed so much to our organization. And really, he has contributed so much to humanity just through his kindness and understanding. And I am confident, I'm sure that his memories are a blessing. He has contributed so much to our field. That is a blessing. Those are many blessings right there. He has contributed so much to Asia TEFL. And for all of us, as witnessed by what everyone has said so far, his memories are blessings to us. And I'm sure to everyone whose life he has touched, his memories are a blessing to them as well. So, like Wolf Blitzer, I would like to say, may he rest in peace, and may his memory be a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Now we have Professor Khan. Would you like to say something?
Oh, thank you. I actually, I think many of you have said a lot of nice things about Professor Spolsky, and I think every one of us, also many other scholars, many other English language practitioners, is connected with Professor Spolsky in one way or another professionally. So I believe that although he has passed away, his legacy, will be with us forever and with other generations of blind linguists and English language practitioners. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Professor Khan, thank you. Now we have some people who haven't said anything yet. Would you like to say anything? Professor Zain or Professor Meran Park or Yongwon Lee or Ramesh Nair?
Professor Supan Zain. Okay.
Hi, I thought I'd just allow the others to speak because all of you know him far better than I do. I've only had the opportunity to, or rather had the honor to contribute papers to the book series. And I consider that to have published a book which was edited by Professor Spolsky as one of the highlights of my career. So yeah, thank you. And I hope this recording can be shared with his family or his loved ones so that, they will know the kind of impact he has made on Asia TEFL. Thank you.
Yes, we will. Yes. Thank you. And Professor Hee-Kyung Lee, would you like to say something?
I don't have any personal contact with him or working experience with him either. I just participated in this morning ceremony because I respect him as a scholar and as a founder of the Asia TEFL, Journal of Asia TEFL. And I feel so responsible, as a member of Asia TEFL, and it's felt so saddened when I heard news of his death, and so it's just it's just my deep sorrow that I just wanted to show my deep sorrow to by participating in this morning ceremony, and we really lost a big scholar and big father in our field of English language teaching and assessment and social linguistics. Rest in peace in heaven.
Thank you. And Professor Meran Park, would you like to say something? Your mic is off.
Thank you for this opportunity. Well, like some of you, I really wasn't that, I wasn't personally that close to him, but I vividly remember Professor Hee-Kyung Lee's, episode of that particular event happened in Busan in 2002. Yes, yeah, I extend my sincere condolences to his family, and he'll be missed terribly. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Now, then, as our last person to say, Professor Yongwon Lee, would you like to say a few words?
Sufan Zain.
Hi.
Not yet.
I want to just make it short. I've already just written up something to test the mailing list for language testers. I met him many times at language testing research colloquium conferences, and also when I guest edited a special volume on diagnostic language assessment, and he actually sent me a personal email saying that I think, thank you for your articles. I kind of know that what is the state of art in diagnostic language assessment, and which I really very felt very thankful for his very encouraging message. And also I taught social linguistic class, undergraduate social linguistic course, and I used some of his chapters, and then I realized how deep his knowledge and insight in various fields of linguistics and and applied linguistic and also language policy. And so I was very much impressed by his scholarly contributions. And I personally thought that I think he's very, very kind, as many of you already mentioned, and a great teacher and a great friend. So I just want to say, and I thank you, and then may he rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lee. We have Professor Sain. Would you like to say a few words before
Yes,
we finish?
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Professor Park and Professor Madhya, for the opportunity. And hello, everyone. I'm saddened by the passing away of Professor Bernard Spolsky. I do not have a personal memory with Professor Spolsky myself, as I did not have the good fortune to meet with him. However, I had fond memories of corresponding with him via email. He endorsed my book, Language Policy in Super Diverse Indonesia, and he was very generous. To me, he has always been a great inspiration in the field of language policy, which I have been working on for years. And he was very supportive of my work, even though I'm just a beginner researcher, one he had never met in person. And now that I have been entrusted with the task as book editor of the Asia TEFL book series, which means I am taking over his role, I feel both blessed and challenged. I feel blessed because it is a wonderful opportunity, but I also feel challenged because I have to do things which he did superbly in his lifetime. And I don't know whether I could do as well as him, to be honest. I think if I could just have 1/10 of his professionalism, 1/10 of his scholarship, and 1/10 of his compassion, I would count myself the luckiest person in the world. So thank you very much, Professor Spolsky. May you rest in peace.
Thank you. Before we finish, I have two announcements to make. The first one is, as you can see, this ceremony has been recorded. So we will send it to Professor Spolsky's family. And Susan, please help me to
I
get
was going to offer
email.
I don't have his wife's phone, email, but I will get it for you, for sure.
Great, great. And then the video will be uploaded on our Asia TEFL YouTube channel. And the second announcement is Professor Madhya and I are planning to make the Journal of Asia TEFL Best Paper Award. But right after the passing of the Professor Spolsky, Robert Dickey, our publicity committee chair, suggested to make some award named after Professor Spolsky. And I think it's a great way to honor Professor Spolsky. So we will discuss more in detail how we proceed this award as soon as possible, and with the new board members. So that's the announcements that I make now. And so I guess this is the end of today's morning ceremony. And thank you all for joining us tonight. And it's a very late night, but I'm sure Professor Spolsky will be happy to
yeah, I'm sure too.
To see us, right? So thank you all, and
thank you.
I hope to see you all again. So
yeah, thank
have
you.
a very
Good
good night.
night.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Good night.
And Judy, can we take
you.
photos
Bye.
before we leave?
Yeah, that's
Okay, sure.
great.
I'm going to take two. 1, 2, 3.
Done?
One more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I saved it and I will, should I email or? Okay.
All right, done.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, great. Thank
Good.
you.
Great. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
Have a good
Bye
sleep.
bye.
everybody.
See you later.
Bye.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
please.
Take care.
Take
Same to
care.
you.